Hey everyone, Aaron here with Elite Watersports, hanging out in the FliteLab booth here in Hood River for the AWSI event 2025. We have Evan with FliteLab. We're going to start with the RAW board lineup, and that's going to be no power assist at all. So FliteLab does have a no power assist. RAW is what they're dubbing it as. Take it away, Evan.
Yeah, we've got a large product range that we're launching with, all things kind of foils. But the RAW lineup is just kind of our standard prone board, right? So if you're looking to prone surf, paddle in the waves, you're using it, you're towing with a jet ski, riding behind a boat, the RAW line is our, standard board lineup. It's really built just to be clean, simple, and performance, right? And super lightweight. We've got a proprietary construction that can't talk about too much, but it keeps it super durable, super light, full carbon.
Durability on it has been really awesome. We have one in the shop for demo, and we've been using it. And there's other features. I'll let you take it away, but we've been impressed with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're behind, frankly, right? Like we've been talking about this product for years and years and years, and it's been so slow to come out because they've just done insane amounts of testing on the foils, on the boards, everything. But the RAW board line is just your standard, prone board. We've got a 4.0, a 4.2. 4.4, 4.6. Yeah, the 4.0 is 27 liters.
Yeah.
The 4.2 is 29 liters. The 4.4 is 32 liters. And the 4.6 is 35 liters.
Gotcha.
So if you're proning the board, I would really say just, pair your board size to whatever volume you're comfortable with surfing generally.
Right.
If you are going to use the board for towing or behind a boat, you definitely want to go smaller. Having a lot of volume, say like a 35 liter board, can be a little bit harder to start with. It's harder to tilt it on its rail, and you don't need that extra volume that you need paddling.
So if I walked into the shop, I'm 165 pounds, and I have a little bit of light surfing and a little bit of foiling in my background. Maybe I was e-foiling with flight board, and I wanted to get into this. What size would you say for my background?
I would say if you're looking at a raw unpowered board, not the amp jet board, and you have just a little bit of surfing experience, I'd say you probably want to err on the side of larger. You probably want the 4.6. You probably want that volume. I surf quite a lot in the 4.0. Mm-hmm. I surf generally somewhere between like a 26 and 29 liter shortboard.
Okay.
So that's the volume that I'm comfortable with.
Right.
But if I'm surfing or if I'm foiling somewhere and it's a long paddle or the wave's a little bit bigger but soft, it's that you need a little more paddle power to get into it, I'll size up, and I usually ride that 4.4.
Gotcha.
If I'm on a small little wave that's breaking easily, it's no problem to get into or shorter paddle out, I'll ride that 4.0.
Right.
If I'm towing, I'm always on that 4.0. There's no reason to have that extra volume with you towing. If you're trying to do a little bit of everything.
First about getting into the wave, having that volume, and maybe sizing up. If you're kind of geared towards one size, maybe think about going to the next size. And that's why we're here at Elite Watersports to answer those questions on our YouTube channel, on our comments, email us, call us. That's why we're available. Anything else you can say about just the board itself?
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, it's like a pretty simple board, but I think there's a lot of thoughts to go into some of the fine details.
I did like the concave deck on it.
That's certainly one of them. The deck is, very flat with a slight concave.
Yeah.
Some of those decks that are really concave, I find that you, especially with your feet, are a little bit offset, right? You feel like sometimes you're slipping towards center.
Yeah, I noticed on the trackpad you did corduroy, which is a really high seller in the industry right now. A lot of people have gone with that. I think it's called corduroy. But you guys put all the dots in here, which actually alleviates some of that water buildup on the deck. So the traction's rather nice.
I'm really happy with the traction pads, to be honest. I think, you can have traction pads that look great but feel terrible, or vice versa.
And
they can be sharp. Yeah, I'm surfing without a shirt, no problem. It's really tacky. Mm-hmm. You have some that almost feel dry. You don't have a lot of grip. It's a bit rubbery feeling. So you've got really nice grip. It's thin, but it's soft. I really think a deck pad is something that can make or break a board, and they hit that really well. It also goes all the way out to the rail. Keeping that very flat deck allows you to bring that traction pad really wide, which a lot of brands don't do.
Right.
Even if they have that wide deck, their pad's kind of ending a little bit early. And when you offset your feet, it's nice to kind of have, have that space there.
The center section is pretty flat, and the concave really pronounces itself right towards the edges of the rails. And it actually made it really nice for holding the board, paddling the board, duck diving the boards. For me, I noticed that right away. And the actual rail is set up for my hands pretty well. I have larger hands, but I can really grip the board, so I have full control the whole time. Or if you're just doing one-handed on the beach.
For sure. And it gives you a good sense, I think, under your feet as well. You can kind of feel where your feet are on the board well.
We have several boards selling very well in the shop, prone boards specifically. Some people kind of cross over to winging and everything, or behind the boat. And it looks as if you've taken a lot of the key features of why those boards are selling really well, and put it all into one package, you know. And that's why it probably took you a couple of years to bring this out.
It's tough to make everybody happy, right? It's like tough to make the board that checks every box.
Right.
But in terms of getting a prone board that paddles well, you've got the deck space, it's light. I hopped on this thing and like immediately felt good and comfortable. And honestly, I will say, the board feels probably a little bigger than it actually is. Like when I paddled the 4.4, I even handed it to someone else that was on a 4.6 Armstrong. A bigger guy, I think he was like a little bit over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
He got on it and he thought he was actually on a larger board than his 4.6.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's because like if you look at the wide spot in this board, it's pretty far forward.
Right.
So that volume's under your chest. It paddles really well.
Intersection of the board underneath. The wider that this area is, and also on the chest area, it's going to be more stable.
Exactly. And especially when you're going to stand up, when your hands plant to stand, they're going right here in that wide section, gives you really something to push off of without burying the nose. If you're on a small board, it's easy to stuff the nose.
Yeah.
So having that wide section further forward is something that not a whole lot of brands are doing. Right. The tail chops it's a pretty squared off tail, but it's still pretty tight. I think for that reason, you can push the foil a little bit further back in the tracks maybe than I was riding on other brands.
Okay. You do have a very large track system, and you have one key feature that I haven't seen in the industry other than like maybe an open box on other brands out there, but you can just loosen up the screws and they give you enough wiggle room so you can actually slide the whole mast out without having to undo your T-nuts to completely lose those things. They just stay connected to the mast.
Yeah, it's quick if you're changing it around in between different boards with the same system.
Or just putting it back in the truck, that's probably why most of the damage happens on our foils at the shop, is because we never want to disassemble it. And now it's just loosen it up and slide it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Really.
No, yeah, for sure. So I think, the foil mounting is maybe just, a little bit further back, which allows you to pop up easier too and get that weight forward easy without it bucking as much. My back foot is generally, I would say, when I'm at speed turning, kind of lined up center on my back foot, kind of centered on the trailing edge of the mast.
Okay.
With our neutral shim. So you can kind of keep that in mind when you're placing that mast at first.
Right.
I think generally whenever you're riding a new board, new foil, you're going to go out there and you're going to shuffle it around. You're going to find that sweet spot. That's what I found for myself. If I was riding this board, I would probably move it about an inch further forward myself.
Good guidance right there. Pro tip right there. That's why you're the man.
But I mean, everyone's got their own opinions, right? It's going to vary a little bit based on how fast you're riding, what shim you've got in, your preferences and everything. But that's kind of my guideline is back foot, trailing edge of the mast. If I'm pumping and going slower, then usually your front foot kind of scooches further forward. But when you kind of go back in that position of, being loaded up to turn or at speed, then I'm usually shifting back a little bit. But yeah, we've got kind of like a little bit like a double concave here in the nose, nice chimes on the rail. I mean, honestly, the board's just efficient.
With features.
Yeah, like you look at it, it actually doesn't look that feature rich. It's a very simple, clean board. But I think they really just got that outline shape spot on.
And that's part of the branding also, is that you want to be a little bit more simplistic on it, more raw materials, carbon eccentric, and, having just a little taglines of what the brand really is.
Yeah.
We're going into having a full lineup of other foils too for FliteLab and also their power assist. So we're going to have some more videos with you here in a second, Evan.
Absolutely.
So guys, if you're tuning into this, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. We're going to have these videos popping out in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. Evan, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron.
I can't wait to get out on the river today with this board. So yeah, I'll just wing or maybe I'll paddle. I don't know. That's why we're here in Hood River.
Yeah, check out the next video. We'll run through the mast and the flux wing weight range.
Cool. See ya.